Good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Hope you're having a good day so far and had a good weekend. This is a pre-market breakdown for the Everyday Growth Advisors on a Monday morning. Welcome into week number 11 of 52. Just wanted to come on here and give you guys some quick updates. If you have watched yesterday's Sunday weekly breakdown video, you would already be updated on what the macro updates are for this week. And I just wanted to come on here to give you guys a update for specific tickers that I'm watching and also just run down the plan for this week. So you have CPI, you have PPI this week, and then you have FOMC, which is coming up next week, as you can see in the economic calendar. So this week, all eyes will be mainly on the CPI, which is going to be coming out on Wednesday, and then the PPI, which will be coming out on Thursday, as you can see. These two will largely then flow into the FOMC rate decision. So expect the inflation numbers to kind of play heavily into the opportunities that will be for this week. But let's just jump into the charts real quick to look at things. If you remember from last night's session during the market breakdown, we were talking about the possibility that SPX would break further down from this level into the next support, which is going to be at 5,600. And then if it breaks even further down from there, there is a potential that we get all the way down into 5,400. Now, I did highlight some of the options flow that we saw on the Discord, golden flow channel. There were a handful of puts bought for 542, 541, 551, SPY. And these were mainly on Friday. You could see some 543 as well. Multi-million-dollar bets nonetheless. And then also some 544 puts for 1.7 million. Now, not to say that we have to immediately get there this week, but these are protective bets that people are putting on. And obviously, if they're going so out the money, which is, somewhere in this, between this range and this range, they're betting all the way down here. That means someone obviously knows something or is expecting price to come potentially close to it. Having said that, I always try to take the flow lightly and not try to make my bias completely skewed, because that's what causes problems. But if you look at the NASDAQ being extremely weak for multiple sessions now, in fact, it's been almost, 2 weeks back to back of bearish price action, despite this level being a very, very key level for a potential bounce. We did not see that. We saw the potential buy up, but then indecision, and then continued selling off into the back end of the week. And today we're seeing pre-market here as well. SPX and NASDAQ both are looking pretty weak. But intraday, the pattern has been that at noon, the trend tends to reverse. If you look at the dollar index continuing to slide down, this is typically good for, equities in general. But in this case specifically, because of the fears of a weakening dollar due to monetary policy being, more higher than expected for longer, this is going to put pressure on the dollar, which is also putting a pressure on volatility, which is also putting a pressure on bonds, as you can see. So bonds being bid up here, you can see the 10-year yield coming further down. This has all been a part of the same playbook that we've been looking at for the past 1 month or so. Okay. Another thing is, if you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are bouncing a little bit this morning. Not a whole lot of bounce, but they are just slightly green. Ethereum is at 4.6%. Once again, not out of the woods yet. This can easily reverse intraday and go all the way into the 1,700 level. For Bitcoin, the long-term target for me specifically is 70,000 or so. I wanted to come back into the support level that's down here, which is the previous resistance level for me to take more exposure. So this is the levels that I'm watching specifically for this. But remember, we're using cryptos as a risk barometer for people who are looking to take risk. Okay. Having said that, SPX for downside opportunity has to break below 565 or so, and then start rejecting it. Or if intraday we see a bounce, then we want to see a rejection of 570 or a rejection of 575, which is your key level for this week. So either reject at 575 or reject at 570 for continued downside pressure into 555 or 556 or 540. Okay, so that'll be your downside pivots and downside targets for this week. In order for upside target and upside pivot, it's a bit more difficult. So you really need to close and hold above 575 or 580, and then really try to capture 585 very bullishly, right, to form a base here for more upside. So that's going to be a bit tough, having, you know, the FOMC coming up next week, and depending on what Fed Powell is going to be coming on to discuss, that's also going to put pressures on the market. But we'll see what happens as, you know, the play-by-play goes. You can expect another video from me updating after CPI and PPI on Wednesday. So let's look at individual tickers now. Obviously, semiconductors have been under fire big time. If you look at SOXL or SMH, they've both, you know, retraced back to very, very key levels here. SMH is on its way down into this key demand zone, which was around the 200 to 212 level. This initial level here is now acting as a rejection zone. So this is kind of, you know, being the main area in which we're seeing quite a fair bit of price action being rejected, which then sends SMH potentially down back into the $200 level for the support. If you look at other tech, Apple still holding relatively strong to the market compared, you know, if you look at price action, whole market's been melting down, but Apple's been kind of holding its own. But Microsoft has been a little weaker comparatively. Microsoft has a support down at 365. If it continues to reject the 390 level, which is currently where it is, then you can likely see that 365 come into play, which will be the potential support. For Apple, it needs to hold 230, and if it can hold through 230, then likely going to go up to retest 240. And if it rejects 240, then it's going to continue chopping sideways, which is what it's currently doing. So it will continue to range between these 2 points here. Okay. It needs to break firmly above 242 for us to find some demand and then get up into the 250 here. And if you break below 230 and reject 230, then you will see a move back down into the 215 to 220 range, which is your previous support, which you see that. If you look at XOM, this is another opportunity which we've been looking at for the past couple of weeks. We got a liquidity sweep down here. A break above 113 would send this into bullish territory with a bounce here. And a rejection of 113 would send us back into the range here. So that's how I would play XOM this week. JP Morgan, this was some alerted a week or two ago where we were looking at both the bearish and bullish opportunity. The breakdown, right, from that key pivot, the rejection, liquidity sweep, and then a really big rush all the way down into the demand zone, which was your previous liquidity sweep between 230 to 235-ish, which is where JP Morgan is this morning. And the market just opened, so those are the main ones that I'm watching for this week. Now, key tickers that everyone's probably wondering what the hell's going on. Tesla is one of them. And just looking at Tesla, you need to understand the capability of the stock. So remember, these corrections, these big wave downs, corrective waves downs are very, very aggressive. And this one here is also mainly driven by Musk's involvement in politics, and then also the fact that, you know, Tesla has seen slowdown in sales in Europe, etc. But the long-term thesis for the stock is still intact. I still remain bullish on it long term. I'm talking about 5-10 years from now. So if you're a Tesla investor, you know, you're getting that opportunity now where it's coming back to intrinsic value, which is around 223, right? And you have a potential support that's right below us, which is right where it is kind of right now. This may be a potential buying zone, but that's only if things improve with SPY and NASDAQ, obviously. Other than that, this can continue to melt down into 185 at the very worst, right? 180, 185 even. This is your like last line of defense here. Below that is like all the way down at 145. So still undecided where Tesla's going to find demand, but we'll catch it when it does. For Amazon, retraced back into the previous breakout. Remember, this area here was where Bezos was selling his shares, and that led to a big correction and then a big buy up and then a breakout, and now it has retraced back to that level. So this is where Bezos was selling his shares. So nice area here for you to pick up shares if you don't own any of this business, but from a trading standpoint, also not a bad area to take some risk reversal plays. If it breaks below here and starts rejecting though, then it's likely to come down into the 173 to 180 range for test of further demand down here. There's also a little bit of liquidity sitting at around 160-ish. So I wouldn't be surprised if you could get all the way down here before you sweep it and then come back up, which would be in line with the SPX and NASDAQ plan that we have. In terms of NVDA, which is the reason why semis are bleeding, of course, among other things, a weak market, but NVIDIA looks like it has the potential to come down to around $99 to $100, which means it has about a $9 downside if it continues to sell off. It is in a downward channel, so it wouldn't be unusual for it to bounce here and then rush up into 122, 123 for further rejection and then come back down to kind of make that wave. But right now, where it is, it's going to likely find support either at 100-ish or at $90, which is your next demand. So remember, I'm just giving you the bearish and bullish plan outcomes here, and then it's up to you to see if it fits within your risk tolerance and your risk plan for all of these setups. Apart from that, I don't really have much more. The rest of these tickers aren't really that interesting. When I see some opportunities, I'll ping you guys, but right now, that's all I have for you. I hope you have a great trading session, and I'll be back with the next video for you guys soon. Peace.